So for those of you who haven't been watching, Ivar had a bit of an incident where he opened up a pretty good sized wound on his tail. Why that's important is because given his condition of being paralyzed, he actually uses his tail quite a bit for balance. So what we're finding is now that he opened up a wound, getting it to heal has been rough. On top of that, when we started to wrap him, he decided he didn't like the wrap on his tail, so he began to chew on it. Because he has no feeling in his back end, he chewed through the wrap itself and into his tail, at which point he nicked a pretty good blood vessel, artery. We're still not entirely sure what he got a hold of, but he is bleeding quite a bit. We've had numerous instances where it opened up and it's taken 20 minutes to get the bleeding under control and rewrap him and get him comfortable and situated again. We've now seen a few different specialists and we have quite a bit of research to do here in what's going to be the best course of treatment for Ivar. But one of the immediate solutions was to put him on crate rest, keep that tail wrapped, and if he's not moving around, then there's not going to be as much pressure on his tail. Hopefully we can actually get that wound to heal. Obviously, the crating solution is not a long-term solution. We are trying it on a short-term basis first, making sure that we can just make some headway on getting that tail to heal. We will be utilizing Ivar's cart to still allow him to get out and socialize with everybody and move around. When he's in his cart, obviously the pressure is off of his tail, so we will be only having him in the crate or in his cart. And hopefully we'll have some good news for everybody. Fingers crossed that this, with the medications he's on and the antibiotics, will help this guy get a jump start to that tail healing and getting it under control. I mean, Ivar's usually our easygoing guy medically, so this has kind of thrown all of us for a loop, dealing with these complications, which we really didn't expect out of Ivar. We have numerous people who have offered to foster him. However, given the severity of his bleeding right now, when he does open up his tail, which is about every other day on average that he's doing, we really just don't feel comfortable sending him into somebody's home and having them have to deal with that amount of blood. It can be scary, especially when you're dealing with a dog Ivar's size. So we are just going to try to see how it goes with carting him and crating him, and if we can get to where that tail's pretty much healed and we're not worried about him bleeding everywhere anymore, we'll be more than happy to work with these fosters and get him into a home. I'm sure Ivar will be happy with that. He's not impressed that he's going to be hanging out in his crate. He's a very social boy, so this isn't the most ideal thing for him, and again, it is not a long-term solution. This is simply to try to get his health conditions under control. To directly address the tail, if we talk about amputation because of where the wound is and our worries about it fully healing, amputation becomes very, very complicated because of how his spine fused together after the injury. Another layer of that is we're moving the open wound from the base of his tail to a stump. So the risk of infection is still high. The risk of abrasive wounds and the incision from an amputation not healing are still very high. So a lot of the same complications that we're dealing with just the wound, we would also be dealing with an amputation. Given that Ivar is paralyzed and incontinent, he also has some urine scalding from urinating on himself. We do try to keep him as clean as possible, but if he urinates on his bedding overnight and we're not here to change it, then he does occasionally get some urine scald, so that is something that the vets would like to address as well. We're hoping that that particular complication would go away in a foster home. He's got, you know, some abrasive wounds here and there. Again, nothing like what we've been dealing with Bella, but because he does drag his back legs every now and then, he'll get a wound that has to be cleaned. Currently, we do not have that going on with him, but it is a reoccurring issue. So again, just another layer to the complication of making sure he's not getting infections and keeping him overall healthy. He does have a little bit of ulceration on his penis. Again, given that he's incontinent and he doesn't have feeling and or control, a lot of times his penis is outside of the sheath, which leaves it open to drying out. It leaves it open to abrasions. And so we are seeing a little bit of ulceration on the penis itself. So there are numerous things that we're dealing with Ivar. The vets do have concerns about all of those layers. So again, we are speaking with numerous vets and trying to come up with the best course of action for Ivar's specific situation. So donations are always really, really helpful, again, given that we're going back and forth to vets. His medical care costs are going up. We're wrapping his tail multiple times a day sometimes because he'll open it up and bleed through, so we have to rewrap it. So, you know, the medical supplies that we're going through with that, again, raise costs around here. If anybody wants to come and hang out with Ivar, again, he's a really social dog, and the situation of having to keep him in a crate or in his cart is going to be really hard on him. So if volunteers want to come and take him on a walk in his cart, if volunteers want to come and just sit here with him, you know, we can bring him out and put him on a bed to sit with somebody as long as they're monitoring that he's not moving around. We can leave him in here where you can still engage with him, love on him, pet him, give him treats. So any of those kinds of things would be really, really helpful for the next couple of weeks. Tehachapi Veterinary Hospital asked us to do this for 4 weeks with a follow-up in about a week, just to see if we are making improvement and we should continue with this treatment plan, or if even with limiting his movement, that's just not in a place where it's going to heal. So any help we can get from you guys as far as donations or anybody wanting to come in and actually spend some time with Ivar would be really appreciated. And we'll keep you guys posted as we figure out what's going on.